Hello friends, Tanya here with another video for Trinity Stamps. This is going to be a long one, guys. Get a beverage and take a seat. We are playing with several of the new products from the April 2021 release called The Greatest Friend on Earth release. And I am going to start out using the Puffy Clouds stencil. It's a slimline stencil, so that means it's 8.5 inches long, and it has all of these awesome cloud edges. Now I started out using that just without securing it at all, but I'm going to go right to my favorite method for securing stencils right now, and that is to flip over my MISTI and use some magnets to hold the stencil in place while I am doing the inking. I just keep flipping and turning and rotating this stencil to get different angles of the clouds to create this wonderful background. I really love how this looks with colored cardstock and using white ink. This is the Chartreuse White Atelier Ink on 3 ink, which is a pigment ink, which makes it nice and opaque. It does take a little bit of time to dry, but not a big deal. I do wish I'd put a piece of scratch paper on the back of my MISTI before I put the paper down, but that's life. It'll wipe off. That is the purple. So I'm doing 3 different colors, and I am going to show you 2 of them because the second one I did a slightly different technique. I'm still using the Chartreuse White, the pigment ink, and I'm putting a layer of that down. And then I'm going to switch to a color that is similar to the cardstock color but darker. And I'm adding a layer of that. And this one happens to be Cracked Pistachio Distress Oxide. And that creates this beautiful colored glow on the cloud line. Now I'm also using my liquid pixie dust. And there happened to be some blue in my paintbrush. I apparently had not cleaned that very well. So we're going to start with the blue background to not waste that pixie dust. There is a lot in this bottle. I don't know why I'm worried about wasting it. However, I want to get every little bit I can out of this bottle. You know how that is. And I am just spattering it with my paintbrush. As you see, I keep all of my re-inkers for the Atelier Ink on 3 inks in these palettes, and I just put them in my storage space between uses. They dry, and then I can reconstitute them with water, and then I don't have to worry about wasting them. This is just a great way to do that. And I haven't had to replace that re-inker in those little pots yet. Now I am taking the Burst Builder die, Slimline Burst Builder die, because you're going to see it works very well for a slimline. And I cut each of those colors. That die cuts from a panel that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so it would actually work on a an A2 card also. I'm just going to take, which I'll show you later, I'm just going to take each of these colors and I'm going to alternate the colors all the way around. I do have to do some odd repeating, but it seems to blend in well with the finished product. And I'm just going to go around all the way around this card base. I'm only going to show you the first half, and then I'll show you the end result when it's done. And I just took a slimline panel that is 3 1/2 by 8 1/2 as the base for this, and I'll trim it down with a die in a little bit. You wouldn't have to, but I have the dies. I love to use the dies. I'm going to use the dies. I love how all of these products coordinate together, and I am really loving the look of the Puffy Cloud stencil with this Slimline Burst Builder die set. I'm just going to lay the last couple pieces in of the this half of the radiating rays of the Burst Builder. And then I'm going to show you the last piece of the other side. I did have to, like I said, change the colors a little bit to get enough to complete the entire thing. But I have a bunch of leftover pieces that I'm going to show you how I use in a little bit. Now this is the stitched Slimline dies, and we're going to move on to, and I used, I think, the second to largest of that one. Now I'm stamping this on watercolor paper. This is the So Very Loved stamp from Trinity Stamps, and it is adorable. It is from the With Love Danny, I think it's called, line. No, it's from the Love Danny line. And I'm going to watercolor this with the Atelier Ink on 3 ink. I'm doing the clouds in the liquid pixie dust just to add a little shimmer to those. And since I'm working on watercolor, you do have to be mindful of where you're painting next to each other. I didn't heat emboss these, so the edges aren't raised. They aren't going to create their own little walls there. And I used some less expensive watercolor, so it does tend to bleed just a little bit. If you use a little higher quality watercolor paper, it's not quite as touchy, but this is what I decided to use, and it worked wonderfully regardless. This is the Maryland Red that I'm using right here. I am going to speed up this video a little more because you don't want to sit here and watch me paint this all afternoon or morning or evening. I'm going to switch to the green. This is Goddess Green, and I'm going to color the rainbow stripes, the colors of the papers that I used. So it's going to be kind of the last part of a rainbow, green and tealy blue and purple. And I am always impressed with how vibrant those colors stay, even when they dry. The Atelier Ink on 3 inks are special in that respect. When you put them down on the paper, that is the color they will be when they dry. It makes it a whole lot easier when you're picking your colors. You don't have to factor in the change in the color when they dry. I did try to create a gradient of the same colors across the word loved, and then I added some spatter. There is a coordinating die set for this particular stamp set, actually for almost every stamp set in this release, and there's lots of options. I'm using the very simple option to cut just the rainbow and clouds. I did end up having to paint the word and the sun again on a second stamped image so that I could layer them together. I added a little orange into the sun to add a little gradation there too. I love that watercolor feel. Well, it's not just a feel, it is watercolor. Now I'm going to take 3 different colors of the baubles. And I'll have those listed in the description box below. I think that's twinkling turquoise and the purple and the green. I don't remember what those are called. And I'm going to continue this radiating feel by adding 3 baubles of graduating sizes to each of the sections, main sections, on each side of the image. I think that just adds a fun touch to this particular card. I love how the liquid pixie dust adds a lovely shimmer there too. This didn't take me very long to do. I'm just showing you here how I assembled the second card because I did not film this part the first time. So I went ahead and did the stenciling on some neutral tones, and I'm sure I'll use this on another card because I love how this turned out. It turned out so pretty. I can see this as a sympathy card in these neutral tones, or a masculine card, or a really inspirational card. The card I end up making or showing you later, after I show you how I assembled this for an A2 card, it's very fun and very much, I think, for a kid card. So I'm going to just alternate and use the negative or the positive, the negative spaces, to add these right in to the the space. So it spaces them perfectly. So we'll have it's not quite 4.5 by 4.25 by 5.5. And I'm just going to use a die to cut them out at the end. I'm just adding some glue. You can put the glue down on the paper, or you can put the glue on the back of each piece and alternate those all the way around. Now with 3 die cuts, you definitely have enough pieces to make it all the way around. And if you did just 2 colors, you would have just 2 alternating. You would have enough pieces probably for 2 cards. The same as with this. I could do this 3 times. That would be pretty awesome. I should have done that. I hope I saved the pieces. There's an idea coming. And 2 last pieces, and then this part will be complete. I love how this looks. You'll have to let me know in the comments which version you like better, the colorful one or this neutral tones one. We've been very bright and festive or vibrant with this release because it's such a fun and vibrant release, but I can see modifying that with your color choices to have a different tone to your projects. Now I did get a little bit of the blue cardstock stuck, so I'm just going to use the end of my pokey tool or my die release tool to scrape that away, and you won't even notice. It is a handy tool. I did use a shimmery white paper to do the white background. Now I'm going to use the modern embossed rectangle stack to die cut this, and it is, I think, the second from largest size. So this is the card I actually ended up making, and I did use the Circus Bear stamp set and coordinating dies. And again, we're off to the next card. I'm using the back of my Misty to hold this down. I'm going to tack down the very bottom edge with a little bit of washi tape. And this is the Good Morning Sunshine layering stencil set. It's fun. Super fun. I can see doing this with all kinds of colors and in all kinds of configurations. Since this is a stencil, you can position it anywhere you would like on the card. I love that it's a 6x9 stencil because it'll work for all of your sizes. This happens to be a 5x7 card that I'm going to be making. This is a 5x7 piece of cardstock. I will end up trimming it down. As with all of the layering stencils from Trinity Stamps, this has laser etching on both layers so that you can line this up on previously stenciled images and create a perfectly aligned finished product. I'm using the Atelier Ink on 3 Bee Sting ink, Bee Sting yellow, and then the Marigold orange to create this sunshine or just bright background. I was very much thinking sun. I made my inking heavier in the center of this stencil down at the bottom. I'm also going to add some spattering because totally into the spattering. Some days I love it, some days I can skip it, but I was really feeling the spatter this time. Just using the same colors in the Atelier Ink re-inkers. And that orange looks pretty bright, but it'll be fine. The images I end up using are really vibrant. More of the liquid pixie dust and adding some shimmer to this. Just going to tap my paintbrush on my finger to get a nice even, well, even or not, a nice spattering. So now I'm going to put this panel, which I've cut down to 4.5 by 6.5 to add a layer for a 5x7 card. Now I'm trying to get this long, thin, it's going to be what they're balancing on, whether it's a rope or a balancing beam. I'm trying to get it lined up, and it's a little squiggly because it's long and skinny, and I'm going to use the edge of this ruler to get it all lined up and then pick up the stamp with the door of my Misty. I am also holding this in place a little bit with the magnets on the sides instead of on top because I've already put coaster blanks on the back. Now I am adding these colored and die cut images, and I want to add the sentiment just underneath that balancing beam line, which I do very easily with the Misty. And I used a couple of different colors on the inside with the same Good Morning Sunshine stencil, layering stencil, only I used like, I think it's scattered straw and dried marigold distress oxides because I can be a bit heavy-handed. And then I add the second part of the sentiment on that. I like to get the inside of the card done when I've figured it out in time before I assemble the entire card. I'm just going to adhere the different layers to the front of the card. I've added coaster blank pieces to the back of each of these images. I could have die cut them with the coordinating dies, but I didn't think of that. And I am adding those. Actually, you know what? I think I fussy cut these. I think I fussy cut them before I got the coordinating dies. However, the coordinating dies are available now, and I do have them now, but I didn't want to waste these images. So these guys are all balancing something. The clown is balancing on his unicycle. The dog is balancing a pile of mugs or cups on his nose. And the monkey is going to be holding a stick and balancing a spinning plate on it. Now I'm being very daring here. I'm using the VersaFine Onyx Black ink and adding that pole he's holding to the card front. I could have really messed that up. I'm glad I didn't. I'm really liking using a reverse tweezers to help me get things lined up when I'm applying them to the front of the card. I'm adding a little bit of a sparkly gel pen, a Sakura Stardust Jelly Roll pen, to some of the pieces to add some sparkle, and that is the finished card. Those are 3 fun projects. I hope you enjoyed this long video. I hope you enjoyed all the products. Tell me which one of these cards you love best. I love to hear it. Which technique do you find the most useful for you? And which of these new products can you not wait to get your hands on? If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps me. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, take a moment and do that now. You'll want to see all of the new videos from this channel. Leave me a comment with any of your questions, or let me know which card you love the best or which technique. And if you are interested in any of the products that were used in this video, check out the description box below. Loads of information there. Until next time, bye-bye.